prayer. Almighty God, we ask for your guidance and direction as we come together to meet. Grant us the strength to manage the challenges ahead and the wisdom to identify these as opportunities as we strive to serve the citizens of Crescent Springs. As we make decisions on behalf of them, grant us the gift of an open mind, the willingness to learn, and the humility to accept the idea of others. Please help us to recognize diversity as a blessing and unity as our strength. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Carter Dickerson.
Here.
Tom Bergamini.
Here.
Matt Zeck.
Here.
Christy Arlinghouse. Mike Daugherty.
Here.
Bob Mueller.
Okay, approval of minutes, October 9th, 2017, council minute meeting. Minutes. Need a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
Mike's made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Carter second. Roll call.
Tom Bergamini.
Yes.
Matt Zeck.
Yes.
Mike Daugherty.
Yes.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Carter Dickerson.
Yes.
Okay. Rhonda, you're next up.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Rhonda Whitaker with Duke Energy. I direct our government community relations here in Northern Kentucky. I know several of you here in the room. And it's my great privilege to come tonight for some good news. And actually, it's some good news not only for Crescent Springs, but I see Mayor Callery sitting here as well. This will also be a project that we're going to talk about that will benefit the residents of Villa Hills as well. So a year ago, we presented a grant check here from our Duke Energy Foundation for the park, the community park, and it was for your tree replacement project. And part of that was due to the fact that the park had lost a lot of ash trees with the emerald ash borer. Duke had to remove trees with our reliability trimming. And there was some ground cover, I think, needed for some erosion. And so last year we presented a check for $3,000 to the Crescent Springs community for the park. And this year, Tom Bergamini gave me a call, and Carter actually applied for a grant through our foundation, and we are giving $5,000 tonight to the community for the park. And this is for the removal of Japanese honeysuckle, which is an invasive species, as many of you may know. Really threatens some of the trees, shrubs, flowers, a lot of the vegetation in your park. So we're pleased to present this. We know that the last couple of years have been a difficult time here in Crescent Springs and Villa Hills and a few other cities with some of our tree trimming, which is a big requirement to ensure reliability for our customers. But because of that, we also think it's important to give back, and this we think is a great way to do that. So Carter, thank you for applying. Tom, thanks for bringing it to my attention. And if someone would like to come down for a quick photo op, we'll do the large check. We'll do the large check. I will turn over the real check, if I may. I'll turn over the real check to George or the mayor, either one of you. I assume you'll have to take care of it, right? All right, and Carter, if you like, I don't know if you have any words to say, or.
On behalf of the rest of council and Mayor Hartfield, we very much appreciate your donation and confidence in our ability to use it wisely, and looking forward to the new and improved park.
Excellent. Well, I would like to make one more offer. So when you start this project, I hear from Tom, it might be, Tom, not Matt, sorry Matt, it might be sometime in the spring. We'd be happy to supply some Duke Energy volunteers to come out and help you with the project.
That's great.
So let us know when you're ready to ramp this up, okay?
I will. We believe in teamwork, and the bigger the team, the better the result.
Excellent.
So
all right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Now this check I have to take back.
That's okay. That's all right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Carter. All right. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. You bet.
Okay. Next up, the fire authority report, Mike.
Not much since the last meeting. I do know that we got our first check from the county for what we added to the tax bill to collect for the unincorporated area. I got an email today and we received, I think we're about 80% of what was on the tax bills. Obviously the bills aren't due until the end of the year, so it looks like the persistence paid off, and we'll be recouping those funds, which in the past we've not necessarily been able to do.
Good. Good deal. Thank you. Finance report, Matt.
From a finance report perspective, I do not have the document to give you all for the month ending 10/31. That's not Susan's fault, that's my fault. So she sent them on Thursday, but didn't have access to my email until this morning and didn't get a chance to get to it. But I will get you the document that I give you each month, kind of showing you the major line items and the big impacts that make those up. But at a summary level, from the balance sheet perspective, we have cash on hand of about $1.6 million, again using round numbers, about $1.1 million in our general fund, and then the little over $500,000 from that Wisconsin settlement fund. So that hasn't changed very much, about $1.6 million. The good news is on the revenue side, we continue to see revenue coming in very strong. This year, year to date through 10/31, we're about $1.3 million, whereas last year we were about $1.2 million. So we do see the revenue coming in very, very strongly. Also good news when we have the November report, I heard from Susan in April, that we received two significantly large insurance premium tax checks. So revenue that we receive from insurance premium taxes, which again is something that's hard for us to forecast, because it is based on insurance policies, but some of them, or two of them, were significant. One I think was north of $100,000, and one was in the $60,000 range. So, and again, our entire IPT budget is only $330,000. So if one check alone was $100,000, that's a significant check. So whoever that individual or business is, thank you. So that'll show even better when we get to November numbers. Expenses are also very, very much in line, even lower than this year, year to date, last year. So all told, the bottom line, we're showing about $370,000 of net income versus we're only about $100,000 last year. So so far the financials have held very well this year. I'll give you the detailed report when I pull that together and send it out there.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep. Oh, one other comment from the Finance Committee conversation that was held. April and Susan had asked for us to start looking at ways that the central office could get more automated. So we are very heavily paper intensive, meaning we send out a lot of checks, we sign a lot of checks, we receive money in a lot of paper format. So to April and Susan's credit, the question was, hey, how can we do more of this automated? So we're going to explore some options of paying more with what's called ACH. If you get direct deposit via your paycheck, you know what ACH is. So we pay more electronically and kind of remove some of the paper, which has a lot of hidden cost to it. So we'll continue to explore that as we get better at it. So.
Would that become an audit point for lack of segregation of duties? But now we have the two signers that kind of takes care of that.
Right. It's a good question. And as long as we follow the process to set it up properly, they'll still have to reconcile it. So you'll still have somebody on the back end who will be a separation.
Okay.
So it just automates it more. So we'll still have the same protocols in place to make sure we're doing it appropriately.
Perfect.
Yep.
You may check with KLC. They have IT in a box, and it's a number of solutions.
They should let it out. See, that was a joke.
Yeah.
Happy to set that up.
That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Matt. Okay. I think I'll take this minute to, I received a letter, and I'll read it to you. Dear Mayor Hartfield, this is to inform you that as of December 31st, 2017, that I am retiring from my position as City Clerk Treasurer. I have enjoyed working for Crescent Springs, and it has been a learning experience. There are still many things to be learned if retirement were not knocking at my door. Sometimes I wish I would have come here earlier in my career and were able to stay longer. The people I have met and worked with through the city have been an awesome group of people, always willing to help me understand when I struggled with an issue and being there for support and encouragement when needed. It's hard to believe how quickly the past 9 years have flown by. Thank you for hiring me back then and allowing me to grow with the city. I consider this to have been a very positive experience, and I appreciate the opportunity to have served as a city clerk treasurer when the position became available 2 years ago. Thank you for seeing the potential in me and giving me an opportunity to be part of this city. Sincerely, Susan S. Laws, Clerk Treasurer, City, Crescent Springs. Thank you, Susan. Do you want to say something?
You have to write your own notes.
I think I've said it all in the letter, and thank you all.
Okay,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Susan.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is economic development update. Tom?
The committee met on November 7th, and I circulated to all of you a copy of the report that the recommendations the committee discussed. There's a variety of things we discussed with respect to economic development, particularly incentives. 2 recommendations came out of the committee. One was considering adopting provisions of KRS 65-205, which allows for the creation of an energy project assessment district, and consider this for the entire city. This is a way for businesses and multiple family units, unfortunately it doesn't apply to single family units, to get funding to improve energy efficiency and to some extent water quality in their properties. And the way that it is funded is done through a standard lending vehicle, but rather than a loan instrument where you're paying it back by a note or something, it is actually an assessment on the property. So it applies not only to you, but it applies to future property owners. Few cities in Kentucky have adopted it. In Kenton County, Covington has adopted it, particularly for its downtown area, and Louisville Metro has adopted it. And a lot of counties have been using these for renovating public structures, mainly courthouses, to make them a little bit more energy efficient. So it's an economic development tool that's available. The city really isn't involved in it at all. It's just that we just have to provide for the mechanism of doing it. So that's one recommendation. The second recommendation is economic development and economic development. Incentives is complex, it's very competitive. To the extent last week, both Rhonda and myself attended the annual meeting of the Kentucky Association of Economic Development, and the whole flavor and variety of economic incentives were brought off the forefront. We are one of many cities that have contemplated that, really don't know what to do with it. So what we have suggested is, rather than trying to figure this out ourselves, is to hire and retain Jim Parsons, who is now with Keating Youth and Camp. He used to be with our firm at Taft. Jim's practice includes economic incentive development. He's got a long history in his entire career of doing this type of work, so we think that his services would be beneficial to us. Also, a person who has participated in the committee but isn't really formally a member of the committee, Pat Wingo. Pat is the Kenton County liaison, I guess you want to call it, for Triad, who is working with municipalities on this. So the one recommendation is to retain Jim. We have recommended that his fees be capped at $15,000. If he is to work with Pat and Pat's participation on the committee, the other thing I would recommend, and I didn't think about this until after the meeting, is that we formally approve her as a member of the Economic Development Committee. That way, we don't have any issues of who she is and why she's there. So those are the recommendations, and you can act on them as you deem appropriate.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Are you proposing any motions tonight, Tom, or?
No, I made the recommendations. What's the money?
wasn't taking
Okay.
notes.
I mean, there's no urgency on this. I mean, we've been kicking the idea around for some period of time, so if you want to contemplate it for some time, we can do it next meeting.
I've proposed a municipal order to allow the mayor to execute a contract with Mr. Parsons, but that would be at the pleasure of council.
Do you have that to read by any chance?
I do.
I move that allow our
All right.
esteemed attorney
You might have-
read the
Yeah.
municipal order.
Is that a motion or just?
Well, he's gonna read, he's gonna read it first.
All right.
Then I'll probably make a motion, but
He wants to
All right.
decide.
All right.
This would be municipal order 2017-16, a municipal order of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with James Parsons, attorney, regarding legal services to advise the city to enhance its economic incentives and further moving funds previously designated. Whereas the Economic Development Committee has met and believes it is in the best interest of the residents of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, to pursue various programs that exist to enhance economic incentives, to invite additional business to the city of Crescent Springs, and whereas the Economic Development Committee believes it is in the best interest to hire James Parsons, attorney at law, and continue to work with Patricia Wingo, and whereas the city has previously designated the sum of $15,000 to be spent on a contract with Norris and Dierkers Architects, which was subsequently repealed by the municipal order 2017-10, and whereas the agreement to employ James Parson will be up to the sum of $15,000 and therefore would be the funds that are available from the present existing funds of the city. Now therefore be it authorized by the mayor and the city council of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, that the mayor of Crescent Springs, Kentucky is hereby authorized to enter into a contract with James Parsons, attorney at law, for legal services to be rendered to advise the city on various economic incentives up to the sum of $15,000. The mayor is further authorized to continue to retain Patricia Wingo as she has already been advising the city. When a report is prepared by James Parsons regarding the various incentive programs available by the city, the report will be provided to the Economic Development Committee.
That monies would come out of the engineering fees that we've budgeted $50,000 for, and we would take the $15,000 when we do our revision, move $15,000 of that to legal for Mr. Parsons.
well, one thing you mentioned was that we retain Miss Wingo. Is there a fee associated with
No.
her?
Yeah. County supporting that.
County pays her salary.
Yeah, she just formally has been named as part of the committee. So
Just the word retained usually has a
Right.
connotation of money.
Right.
I'll move to accept municipal order number
2017-16.
2017-16.
Mike's made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Bob, second. Roll call.
Mike Daugherty,
Yes.
Bob Mueller,
Yes.
Carter Dickerson,
Yes.
Tom Bergamini,
Yes.
Matt Zek,
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Okay.
And Mike, do you by any chance have a municipal order over there for adopting KRS 60?
I don't think you do.
No, I don't have
There's
that.
no urgency on that, I think.
Yeah, I made a note of it.
Okay,
I'll try to have that for next month.
I think it tends we can roll that into the overall economic development program as a tool to use at our
Yeah, I
discretion.
mean, you could do it then, but.
no, I just want to make sure we didn't need to do
We want to
something.
get it started with somebody.
We'd have done it.
Always add it whenever we want.
Okay, next item, Public Works, Dewey.
We've got all the street work done on the street for the year. Everything looked good, what they done. We've got all the sprinkler systems winterized here at the city building, soccer field, and up at the park. We've got all of our banners changed out on the streets. Our tot land equipment came in that we ordered, and we have all that repaired up at the park. Our trucks have been serviced, spreaders, plows, and all's been checked. Everything's ready to go. We have plenty of salt at full. We're working on the Christmas decorations now, getting ready for the Christmas event on December the 8th, I think it is.
second,
Second.
second.
And then the restrooms, we're opening them during the week from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're closing them on the weekend. And then after the Christmas event, then we'll shut them down and winterize everything for the rest of the year. And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Dewey.
I got a question. My recollection is, I think Rick had mentioned, a member of your team is leaving.
Alan left us, he's already left.
All right.
Yeah,
Are you in the process of retiring?
we have already hired a couple of guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've replaced him already. Yeah, so we're good to go.
As it relates to the soccer field, I did notify the Bill Hill Soccer Club and reminded them that the goals and nets have not been taken down. They're
I was
supposed to
gonna
do
ask
that.
you if you want us to set them over on
No,
the side.
they're supposed to do that, I think they said this week, so.
Okay. and
Not
then
hold my
we're-
breath,
we're
but
gonna
they are aware they need to be taken down.
Okay, that's no problem. We're gonna be doing some major work over there anyway. Okay.
Okay. Thank you,
Uh,
Dewey.
Yeah, they just step on the hillside and get chained to a tree.
Okay, city administrator,
The
Rick?
only thing I have is back in April, the council authorized me to make application for zone change for the small area study or gateway study. We made that application for a map amendment and a text amendment. The text amendment had to do with the different zones that we kind of compiled into one, called it an MC zone. I believe that was handed out. I'm going to hand it out again, if I may. I'll pass a couple of copies down that way, council, and a couple going this way. And in the process of doing so, you have to have 30 days notification for a map amendment.
You have another one?
Yeah, you need one more.
For Matt.
We made that application, we made the deadline in time, we verified all the adjacent property owners. The notifications letter went out, however, due to an error on PDS's part, it went out 5 days short. So therefore, instead of taking a chance and moving forward with that map amendment, we, after conferring with our city attorney, Mike Baker, PDS and so forth, we decided it was to the best interest of the city to pull that application, the map amendment part. The text amendment we're moving forward with. We will submit new notifications out so we make the 30-day deadline, and it will go before the Planning Commission in January. What I passed out here is basically a draft of the IP1 zone. We've been approached by a developer wanting to put storage units in down off Schmidt Lane, and also put portable storage units in, boxes or, like pods, but they won't have pods on the side of it. There was a significant amount of them to go around the perimeter of the project, and just doing a quick straw poll from 2 or 3 people would be, they want it to be aesthetically pleasing compared to what it could be. And part of that would include a roof over part of those. There's also a main building would have over 90 storage units in it, an office building, and then phase 2 there would be another 2-story building with storage in it. He's putting a lot of money into this project and so forth. I wasn't real comfortable with the zoning on that, as it's the only thing it said where warehousing and wholesaling was concerned. Warehousing, in my opinion, is like what Urban Beck could put up there, storage units with a garage door that slides up and so forth. The portable storage unit, in my opinion, is just what it was, is portable. They're pods. I didn't feel, and everybody else didn't feel, that we need to be moving them in and out down Hazelwood Drive in that high traffic area. We didn't want them stacked on top of each other. So I called PVS this morning. We drafted some amendments to our current IP1 zone to address those concerns of the aesthetics, the stacking, and a roof over them and making them permanent. They are considered accessory uses to the principal building, which would be the storage building. So all that's attached in there. I'll give you a copy for your review. We'll move forward with the text amendment to the IP1 zone and the text amendment to the MC, but the map amendment will be going in January before the Planning Commission, then come back to the city at the February meeting, and Mr. Baker make that presentation, along with Andy Vakovich from PDS.
So this would impact the current businesses that are in that zone already, correct?
It could impact them. There's,
I'm only asking because I can't tell you what page number it is, but it's in the page numbers. One of the things caught my eye, it said, no outdoor storage of any material usable or waste shall be permitted except in enclosed containers. I'm pretty sure the one business down there has a lot of outside storage stuff that's not in containers.
like, you have to get with me on
I will,
what business that
It's
is.
the one behind the
I know what you're talking about.
Taekwondo.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's
There's
been
a lot of outside stuff
right.
there. So.
That has been given for enforcement.
I just didn't know if that was allowed now, that
No,
this
it's
was
not.
adding language to it, so.
The only other thing I have under the administrator is we did receive the land water conservation grant for the restrooms in the park.
Oh, we did?
Dewey and I have discussed that. We're gonna mark the location. We'll probably start construction on that in the spring. One of the new hires that we have has a lot of concrete experience that can do a lot of the concrete work. It's a 50-50 grant. Well, part of our part will be in kind. The other part will be from land, water, and conservation. So we hope to start that in spring and have it open and running by July, August, somewhere in that neighborhood. So other than that, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Next item is ABC law. Mike?
I'm going to read a proposed ordinance in a second, but let me essentially give this explanation, brief explanation first. 2 years ago, there was an amendment to the ordinances to allow alcohol to be sold during election hours, following the state law. And the specific ordinance amended one part of the code of ordinances, 1.40A. And if you go further down to D, which is what I'm about to read, it didn't do anything with that. So this is really to bring the whole ordinance in so that it's consistent and reads together, that will allow the sale of alcohol during election hours. That's the preamble to what I'm about to read.
So we fixed one section, we just didn't fix the
We
other
didn't fix the other
Right.
section.
We didn't find this out until we had a phone call reference election day, and we went and researched and we couldn't find it, and then we called the publishing company, and evidently Part D was left out, so.
It's more of a housekeeping, technical correction. Ordinance 2017-13, an ordinance of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, amending ordinance 114.40 regarding hours when alcoholic beverages may be sold. Whereas the city code of ordinance 114.40, which describes the hours in which alcoholic beverages may be sold at retail or served in the city, and the Kentucky legislature having amended its statutes to allow for the sale of alcohol during the hours when polls are open in the city, and whereas the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky enacted ordinance 2015-9 to amend ordinance section 114.40 capital A in parentheses, and whereas it appears that in addition, section 114.40 capital D in parentheses must also be amended to comply with the change in state law. Now therefore be it ordained by the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, section 114.40 capital D in parentheses is hereby amended to read in full as follows. Capital D, all retail sellers that hold a valid license for the sale of distilled spirits, wine, or malt beverages within the jurisdictional boundaries of the city are hereby authorized to sell distilled spirits, wine, and malt beverages, whether by the drink or by package, according to the terms of their individual license, during the hours of 6 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. the following day on every day except for Sundays. And then this next clause is what is being deleted. It has a line through it. And except for any hours when any polls are open in the city on any election day. So that part will be deleted. All retail sellers that hold a valid license for the sale of wine, spirits, or malt beverages within the jurisdictional boundaries of the city are hereby authorized to sell distilled spirits, wine, and malt beverages by the drink according to the terms of their individual license between the hours of 12:01 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. on Sundays, and between the hours of 11 a.m. on Sundays and 2:30 a.m. on Mondays. all retail sellers that hold a valid license for the sale of wine, spirits, or malt beverages within the jurisdictional boundaries of the city are hereby authorized to sell distilled spirits, wine, and malt beverages by package according to the terms of their individual license between the hours of 12:01 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. on Sundays, and between the hours of 11 a.m. on Sundays and 2:30 a.m. on Mondays. Section 2. The remaining portions of Section 114.40 of the City Code of Ordinances is hereby readopted and reaffirmed as is set forth herein as amended in Ordinance 2015-9 passed October 26, 2015. Section 3, this ordinance shall be in effect from and after its passage and publication according to law. And we will reread it next month.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Next item, old business, recommendation for police services. Bob?
Pretty much everything that has been provided to council up to this point, including the materials at the last caucus, remains the same. The recommendation on the table is to follow the Ed District's recommendation, the Finance Committee's recommendation to award the police service contract to Villa Hills and to proceed to negotiate a contract, obviously pending the successful negotiation of a contract. So in that sense, nothing has changed. Matt, did you want to add anything?
No, unless there's any other questions, I would make a motion that we move forward and proceed with the recommendation to award the police contract and start negotiations with the Villa Hills Police Department.
Okay, Matt's made the motion. Do we have a second?
Is that by order or ordinance? My recollection is the Erlanger contract's by ordinance.
I think the ultimate contract has to be adopted by ordinance.
I think this
At
is
this
more a
point,
motion
this
to
is
proceed
to
forward to
proceed
get
with
to that contract.
negotiations.
All right.
I'll second.
Before we go there, I want to point out to council that on February 13th, 2013, per the minutes, the mayor presented a proposal from Mayor Hermes with the city of Erlanger for police services. This contract will begin on June 30th with a cost reduction of $115,000. Years 2 through 5 will each increase by 2.5%. Quarterly meetings will be held on response times. Mike Daugherty made a motion to proceed to draw up an agreement authorizing the mayor to sign a 5-year contract. Matt seconded, roll call vote was taken, it was unanimously passed. So we are acting contrary to what we had acted before.
We received a contract back that was unacceptable, and so
That, I understand that, but we legislative intent on February 13th, unanimously approved by you and Matt included, was that the Erlanger contract was fine. Something went awry from February 13th through, I want to say May 1st. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it happened. But when we all work together, things work out well. When people are left out of the loop, things don't go well. This did not go well. We were put in a position we should never have been put in. We had a contract we all agreed upon. The executive branch, for whatever reason, chose not to execute that contract. And now you're asking them to execute something that probably will not sit well with many of us on council. So we are in a bind. I think we should abide by what we originally agreed to and stay with it at that.
Can you read it again? Was the vote to then proceed with
The vote to proceed,
papering that contract?
made a motion to proceed with drawing up with an agreement authorizing the mayor to sign a 5-year contract.
And I believe we did that.
Yes.
We executed that. We drew up an agreement. Then we negotiated in good faith with Erlanger and did not come to terms on an agreement, on a contract. We drew up.
The terms of the contract were the proposal, what he read. We agreed to abide by those terms. There was nothing in that.
Read
There's
it
nothing-
again, because you said we
There's the
made a
minutes. The
motion.
minutes speak for themselves. The minutes say nothing about renegotiating the terms.
Mike Daugherty made a motion to
Read
proceed.
the whole thing.
No, I'm going to the motion. Mike Daugherty made a motion to proceed with drawing up this agreement, authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Okay? So we did that. We drew up an agreement. We never executed the contract because we could not come to terms with the contract negotiations.
The terms of the contract were set forth in a letter of January 23rd from the mayor of Erlanger to the mayor of Crescent Springs. The terms that were included as part of the record. Those
No,
terms.
they were not, no.
Those
Because
were the- those
this
were
doesn't
the-
notice anything
excuse me,
about
excuse
response
me.
times,
Those-
doesn't notice anything about.
That's exactly what it says.
Yeah, quarterly meetings will be held in response time.
With respect-
Our contract, we actually requested specific response times that they were not comfortable with.
Well,
We also had an agreement
Lou,
wait a minute, let me finish.
No,
No, let
we
me
have gone
finish.
too far on this. You have screwed
No.
this thing up so badly.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you better be sorry. When we
No.
work together, we win. When we don't work together, we've
No.
got a problem. I've got a problem with the way you handle this. I think you did it intentionally. I don't
No,
know
I
the
didn't.
reason why, but it was self-centered and it was not in the best interest of this community. And for that reason, I can never support any agreement to go anywhere else other than what we had agreed to go to in February. Why, if you had questions in February, why did you even present a proposal? I think one of the reasons is because all of a sudden this community center contract started to go south, and that just sort of tipped the card. And if I'm not gonna
Yeah.
get what I want, you guys aren't gonna get what you want.
No, that ain't how I
I'm
work.
sorry, but that's the way I believe it.
Well,
You
that's the
better-
way you believe
You better
it,
come up with
yeah.
facts to show otherwise.
Well,
because I
we also
cannot-
had an agreement, the council agreed to ask Erlanger for their final and best offer, which we did.
That was 4 months after this agreement was written.
Well, there's a motion on the floor. We have a second.
Matt, would you be willing to alter your motion? And that would be to include the removal of the Duke franchise fee at such time that we switch dispatch centers.
I think those are they're related, but I don't know that I would put them in the same motion.
They're directly related.
No, they're not.
They're
But we've already had
directly
this discussion. We did not approve the Duke Utilities franchise fee solely and exclusively to pay for the 911
I
dispatch fee.
disagree.
They were related, but we did not say they could only be used for
I
that.
disagree. If you
Okay,
look at,
and that's your
if
right
you
to
look
disagree.
at the minutes of
Yep.
2014, it is expressly for the purpose of paying for dispatch.
Okay.
Period, end of story. It wasn't to pay for lights, it wasn't to pay for whatever else we want to pay for. It was for what? for
But it
that.
also said that we could use that for other things
No,
besides.
it does not.
Well, then why don't we check with Duke Energy? and
No,
check?
why don't you read the ordinance
We
in the
did.
minutes?
Joe Baker sat here and read it.
Read the minutes.
If that's the case, how did we pay for part of the ALS services with it?
Read the minutes.
Answer that question,
We
Tom.
paid for the ALS, I don't know how we paid for the ALS.
If part of that, and I think Matt said the difference, if that's the case, you took in 136, you're only paying 115 for dispatch, where'd the other money go?
I have no idea.
It went for ALS.
I have no idea.
That's exactly where it went.
The minutes speak for themselves. That is the intent of the elected officials of this city. The intent of the elected officials of this city in February was, we're gonna go with Orion. All of a sudden, 10 months later, because 2 of the council members are in objection to it, we are not with Orion.
Well, okay, the question I have is what I asked Matt before. What about the additional ALS fees that were,
That's not, has nothing to do with police services.
well, I think it does.
No, it doesn't. It
And
has
it's
to do with
dispatch.
dispatching. It has to do with emergency health services, but it doesn't have to do anything with police services. I think you got, this is the most, we were put into a position we should never have gotten into. And I'm, obviously you know where I stand on this, but.
Right.
We'll
So, roll
address-
call.
We'll address that franchise
Matt
fee.
Zach,
Yes.
Well, wait a minute, did
Bob Mueller,
you move to amend?
He requested, and I said no. I thought there were two different.
Well, move to amend.
I
We already have a
asked,
motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. How
Tom,
do
He
you-
moves
Tom.
to second that.
I asked if he would amend it. He declined. I'm moving on.
You're not gonna move to amend it?
I will,
I'll move to amend it.
I will honestly
I'll move
say,
to amend that we add that if there is a contract with anybody else that has county dispatch, that the Duke franchise fee immediately be reviewed.
when we get to that point.
No,
I
I'm
believe-
moving right now. George, you're
just-
not an elected official.
No, I'm not. I'm a city administrator, and don't act like you do. I'm trying to be professional, and you're getting way out of line like you did in previous meetings.
Hey.
I'm sorry, Tom. Hear what I have to say a
You're
minute.
not an elected official.
I didn't say I was. What I'm saying is that we will definitely, the finance committee, the city representatives, the city administrator, the mayor will look at the Duke franchise fee and see what our recommendations are for that. And if we can get rid of it, we will get rid of it.
Okay, I heard you. I am still moving that we amend the motion as presented
If
with
there's a
a
motion on the
proviso,
floor,
with a proviso that if it is with any entity that does not that has county dispatching, that the Duke franchise fee that was adopted immediately cease as of the day of that contract. I'll need a second.
My question of order is, the motion was made, it was seconded. How can you amend something that's already been motioned and seconded?
I have the same question. Is that
I'm only asking procedurally. I really don't know the answer.
I think you have to act on the first motion, and then he can make an amended motion. Is that true?
I don't know, you have to determine, that's what he said.
I didn't bring my rule of parliamentary procedures with me this evening. I mean, I think you can move to amend, and then the amendment would be voted on, if it's seconded. And if it fails, then the original motion is then voted on. That's my recollection.
So if there is a motion to amend, and that motion to amend passes, then it is then put onto the original first motion, and we are voting on that motion as amended,
As
correct?
amended, yes.
I'll second the motion to amend.
You understand what you're calling for a vote on?
no, not really.
Well, the vote at this point, as I believe it should be, would only be on whether the motion, the original motion can be amended to include text that the Duke franchise tax would be eliminated upon the successful completion and enactment of a new police contract. I'm re-summarizing what you're saying. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
What does that?
So, if it passes, then Matt's motion, original motion, would be amended to include that particular language.
The problem I have is the contract may be negotiated in January, and we still have till July to pay dispatch.
It says upon, then it ceases upon the commencement of that contract. If the contract begins July 1st, that's when it ends.
And can someone explain to me where that money would then be put if it's not paid?
It goes away.
And so
It goes,
there's less tax?
No, it's not a tax. It's an assessment on utility bills. It applies to everybody, profits and nonprofits.
And that is
If that money
about
goes.
how much per utility
How
bill?
much is it? How much are you?
136.
About 130.
It's like 133, I think.
So that means $133,000.
Per household utility
No,
bill?
no, total. $133,000 a year of money would go away.
So that's a relatively small amount per household.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's 3%. The franchise fee is 3% of your bill. So if your bill's $100, it's $3.
It's roughly the amount of the tax increase that we had when we took the compensating rate. Maybe not, maybe, I don't know, Matt, am I wrong there? I don't want to.
Yeah, the compensating rate plus 4, where you took the plus 4, that plus 4 is significantly smaller.
Okay, he said 3%, I was thinking
Right.
plus 4.
No.
Okay.
Carter, the
I
thing to
stand- I
think
stand
about here
corrected.
is that the difference on council will be in the interpretation of what that franchise fee was originally put in place to do, and the flexibility, I think, that some believe it has to pay for quote-unquote other things. And so I think that's only been my point all along, is let's be sure we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater if we need it for something else. Sort of a due
It was
diligence
intended for
thing.
dispatching. If you have an entity that's going to provide service and your dispatching is now a fee on your tax bill, which it will be for those accounts, there's no longer a need for an extra fee on a Duke franchise to pay for anything, period, end of story.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
So which one they take the roll?
I think you call a vote on the motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
Only.
Roll call.
Matt Zek,
No.
Bob Mueller,
No,
Carter Dickerson,
No?
Mike Daughtry,
Yes.
Tom Bergamini.
Yes.
Motion fails 3-2.
Now what you have on the floor is the original motion by Matt Zek that would need to be called, which has been seconded by Bob, I thought.
Right. Okay,
And we have a motion and a second. Okay.
right. Call the roll.
Bob Mueller,
yes.
Carter Dickerson,
Yes.
Matt Zek,
Yes.
Tom Bergamini,
No.
Mike Daughtry.
No.
Motion carries 3-2. Okay.
Okay.
Next item, mayor's report. I don't really have anything. Is there any new business? Okay. November 15th is the finance meeting. November 23rd, 24th, office is closed. November 27th is the caucus meeting. December 2nd is Christmas in the Park, 6 to 9. December 6th is the Events and Recreation meeting. December 11th is our next council meeting. And December 13th is Christmas party at 6 p.m. at, what is it? Twin Oaks. Twin Oaks.
Twin Oaks.
Rick, if you want to tell them about some of the roads down here being taken over by the state,
They know that.
they know that? Okay.
They've got copies of the letter from the transportation.
All right, just want to make sure they knew.
So with that being said, oops,
I don't know, but do we need guidance on whether the committee that's working on the police services?
it'll be the
thing
current committee.
will be
Yeah.
the group to negotiate,
Yeah.
or how do you, just tell us what you want to do there?
Well, it'll be the current committee that negotiated up to this point.
Finance committee.
That, the new contract?
Yeah.
No.
Who is it?
Go ahead.
You were chairing it, so.
I am?
Sure. He elected you.
Matt, myself, Lou, Rip, I'm missing somebody?
No.
Well,
Megan
Megan
was on it.
was on it.
Let me ask you this, was that a committee approved by council?
the committee to,
It was accepted by council.
Yeah, was it approved by council? The reason I'm asking, and I asked Mike Baker to take a look at this, I'll give him copies of, but I'd like for you to take a look at Attorney General Opinion 82-331 and 82-571, which deals with the issue of committees that are not approved by the council. Because I don't think the committee's properly acting on behalf of the city.
I'll review them.
Review them, because we may have to have another
Okay.
Attorney General opinion as to whether or not this was a proper committee.
I'll review them and I'll advise you what I think.
All right,
Pat, would you want to make a motion to appoint a committee?
it's too late now.
Yeah, let's have Mike review it and
Okay.
see what his thoughts are.
We'll still go with the current committee, so. All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Meeting's adjourned.